First up, obviously, I'd like to thank you all for taking time out of your busy night to be here, in particular with the Bruins playing. I know for a number of you it's quite a sacrifice, myself included. I want to acknowledge, first and foremost, the wonderful athletes that you folks have given me the privilege of coaching during the course of a couple of months here. I have coached a lot of teams over a lot of years, and I've liked 90% of them. 10% of them were a little shaky at times. And I do tend to get very fond of a team, and I enjoy hanging out with the kids. I enjoy working with the kids. I hope that kind of came through with me coaching the girls this year, and the kind of experience that they had, etc. But I have to tell you, as parents, and you probably don't hear this enough, and you probably should hear it a lot more, they are some of the most amazingly outstanding, polite, respectful, wonderful young ladies that I have ever had the pleasure of being anywhere near. And you should be incredibly proud of the job that you've done as parents with the young ladies that you gave me the pleasure of hanging out with for a couple of months. You guys should applaud your parents now, like it or not. Give them some love. They don't get it that often. That being said, I think that both teams can honestly say they had a good and successful season. I know obviously the varsity team, we did quite well. Real well. Real well. Much better, honestly, than I thought. When we began the season with 2 losses in our first 3 games, I thought, well, okay, 500 season, that's what we're shooting for. And we got about halfway through the season, and I looked at the girls and I said, you got 2 more losses, that's all you get. And we wound up actually ending the season with 4 losses, which is where we end up. I wasn't the 2 I thought we'd lose. One of them I thought, the other one I wasn't sure. Yay! We asked, prepared to be embarrassed. During the course of our season, when we got to the tail end of our season, we had a pretty banged up back line. And on top of that, suddenly because of a snowstorm that obviously God doesn't like me to do to me, we wound up having to play what we assumed and what we expected would be 4 games in 5 days. And because of that, I had a number of the JV players play with me on the first of those 4 games, but we decided to keep this young lady around and have her play on a team that she had played 1 game with all season long and walk into the Vogue tournament and give me significant minutes. And the first game, she did a wonderful job. We had her come back for the second game, and she gave me a lot of minutes. And she was a tremendous contributor to our ability to have that little trophy that we have out front. So for that recognition, and this was not my idea, this was my team's idea, you have a varsity letter. Carly!
She's not here.
She's not here.
Aww.
Liz. Ashley. We're going to need a step ladder again. Heather. Gianna. Hey, Jake. You guys sit any further away? You guys are all sitting down there so you can make the applause last as long as possible, right? Good job, Jake.
Thanks. Good job.
Danielle McLeck. Lauren Frank. Almost ready. Nice job, kiddo. Heather Demers. Rachel. You can applaud for Isabella, she's not here. Mary. Brittany. Nelson. You're welcome. Michaela.
Yeah, Michaela. Woo.
Caitlin. Alyssa. My little squirrel.
She's so cute.
Danny Frank. Last but not least, Annie.
Okay, awkward.
There you go.
Good job.
Last but not least, I'm going to do some individual awards. One of the hardest things in the world to do when you're an athlete is to sit back on the sidelines and cheer your team and not be able to participate directly in the field of play. One of the most incredibly difficult things to do is to do that when you're a senior, or not when you're a senior, but when you're in high school. We had one player who started the season injured and never got a chance to play on the field. We had another player that got injured shortly there afterwards. And I have to tell you, other than going to physical therapy or going to a doctor's appointment, those kids didn't miss a practice, they didn't miss a game. They spent the entire time sitting on the sidelines cheering for their teammates, and they worked as hard as anybody else on the field to try to support their team. And it is, I got to tell you, it's much easier to be on the field and contributing and feeling part of it than it is to be sitting there on the bench and trying to find a way to honestly contribute without actually being on the field. So to those two players, I would like to recognize as favorite fans. First off, Emily Perry. Have to scrunch it down. So many short jokes, so such little time. Lou.
Yeah, Lou.
I just wish I could. No, I'm saving this one for last. This is my favorite.
Picking favorites, huh?
Actually, I'll do this one next. The award for outstanding offensive player. Whenever I put this kid on the field, she's just an amazing piece of work to sit back and watch play the game. And like I said, I've coached for a long time. I've never seen anybody who quite plays the game the way that Isabella does. And she's just an absolutely amazing player. And if you ever had the pleasure of watching any of my games, just enjoy watching her. Because she's a once-in-a-decade at best kind of athlete on the field the way she plays. She's just absolutely tremendous. And she's also one of my team captains. She's a terrific leader on the team. I can't say enough good things about her. Of course, she stood me up tonight, so maybe I won't say so many good things about her. The rest of these got tough. And the reason they got tough is because, quite honestly, I drafted the email 4 times. And initially, I had 1 or 2 players, and that was it. And then I had like something for just about the entire team, and then I felt bad because I left out 2 or 3 players, so I tried to figure out, and it was like, it got ridiculous. So I don't want anybody to leave here thinking that they didn't contribute and they didn't deserve something, but at some point you got to limit it. So what I did decide to do was the following. For defensive player of the year, I actually have all 4 of my back line. Elizabeth. Brittany. Heather Demers. And Rachel. Every single coach that we played up against walked up to me at the end of the game and said, geez, that back line you've got's ridiculous. We played a very up-tempo game. We were not trying to tie. I mean, we didn't tie any games. There's a reason for that. We didn't try to tie. We tried to win every game that we were in, and because of that, at times we asked a lot of our defense to sit back and not only participate in the defensive part of the game, but also participate in the offensive part of the game. And I have to tell you, I would trade these 4 kids on my back line for anybody. They were absolutely outstanding from game 1. Player of the Year. This award is given out to the player who plays for their first year at Varsity, who does an outstanding job. This wasn't really a difficult choice for me at all. And the funny part was this particular player came up to me at the beginning of the season and was very upset about the fact that she wouldn't get any field time because she was a sophomore and she was afraid that she was going to wind up spending the entire time like watching the game from the bench because I wasn't going to play anybody but my top 11, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and wanted to play JV instead. And I told her to just go away because she had made the team cold and I knew I had a good slot for her. And she played just about every minute of just about every single game and gave me an outstanding performance every single game. Heather Demers, you earned this. Last but not least, every team has the unsung hero. And the unsung hero many times isn't the person who necessarily gets the print or necessarily gets the accolades, but it is somebody who contributes in such a way that the team functions. Sometimes that's a captain on the team who sits back and gives the direction and helps the team work. Sometimes it's just one of those players that you put out in the field and they lead by example. Sometimes it's a player that plays in a number of different positions for you and allows you the flexibility of then being able to keep the rest of your setup and your structure in place. And sometimes, Danny Frayne, it's all that. And you are the unsung hero of our team. Thank you. Other than to say, again, thank you very much for my team and my parents making me feel so welcome my first year here at BVT. I truly appreciate it. I had a blast coaching your kids. I think that's pretty obvious. They think they had a blast playing, soccer for us, and we had a great season. And I think that's it for me.
Appreciate you, and so we got you a little something.
Is it ticking?
Well, maybe. This is from the team. Okay, I had to put in that so it didn't break.
I have my own BVT coffee cup from the BVT Girls Varsity 2011. So, okay, here's the story. So, before every game and before every practice, I think religiously, I don't think I missed one. And initially it was just because I needed it to keep up with them, and then eventually it's because I'm superstitious. I always had an extra large Dunkin' Donuts coffee with me. I bring it to the beginning of practice, I've been to the beginning of every game. So, thanks, guys. And my own clipboard.
The last thing we have is for Coach Russ that takes all of the pictures for us at every game and comes to everything for us, so we got this for him.
He's so cute. Look at him. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Go, ciao.